a copy of the report, and I want to thank that student for doing so. So I was able to download it. I was able to read it, the report, and my God, from the time I started to read this report, I recognize what you call capital BS. And it's when I say BS, it's bullshit they're talking about. Capital. And let me say, I made a note to say, I'm a former police commander, and I have seen a lot of bullshit reports. I have seen a lot of them. You read them, and sometimes when you read the statements do not support the report. Sometimes the report is written, and the conclusion is not in accord of the body of the report. I have seen those, so I can recognize a bullshit report from a distance. And this one beats all, buddy. This report from the the Mahdia Commission of Inquiry beats all the bullshit reports I have seen. And it would appear to me that the sole purpose of this report was to absolve the government from blame, from the death of those 20 children. That is it. That is what this thing set out to do. And I'm going to read certain parts, and you tell me if my conclusion is correct. Now, I started out reading the report, and the first turn off I get was on page 14, folks. Page 14 says, in part, Mahdia formally received its status as a township in the year 2018 and has since enjoyed an array of amenities associated with township status, such as medical facilities, a police station, a magistrate court, a fire station, regional democratic offices, and other public facilities. So right away I got turned off, because if you're saying that Mahdia received township status in 2018 and has since, that's what it says, and has since enjoyed an array of amenities, I don't know, right by, but you're suggesting then that these amenities weren't available before the township status in 2018. But I know from ever long, Mahdia had hospital, Mahdia had police station, and other like regional democratic offices. So when I read that first part, I said, well, look out, more coming. Because this is on page 14, you know. Only they haven't gone into the meat of the thing yet. This is on page 14 on the introduction. It says that they received township status in 2018 and has since enjoyed an array of amenities associated with township status, such as medical facilities, police station, magistrate court, fire station, regional democratic offices. That is what it said. Mr. Conway, your comment on this part, my brother. Let me hear your comment on this part before we move on.
Well, remember I was a commander for ELF division, you know, and Mahdia came under my command. And Mahdia, apart from the fire station, Mahdia had all those facilities available to the community, apart from the fire service. So what they're saying is total, is complete inaccuracy, complete fabrication, and total distortion of facts. But the bottom line is, the commission was designed to cover up for the government, and more particularly to cover for the Ministry of Education, and more so the Honorable Minister of Education. So all those things will come into play as a backup. You come front so that you know you could cover for the minister and cover for the ministry.
Yeah, and again, you know, when I read the report, I'm going to read a few more excerpts from this report, and I give you the reference, the page, and everything. You know, I did this research. I'm going to give you that. And you know, I wonder, having read this report, who wrote this report? I'm asking who wrote the report. Was it the commissioners who wrote the report? Was it the secretary who wrote the report? Was this report written and presented to them for them to just rubber stamp it? I don't know, because I found some things that is mentioned in this report amazing. Page 37. If you go to page 37, they talk about the Ed Caesar report. Ed Caesar was a former education officer, and he was commissioned, I think, in 2017 to do an assessment of the education sector. And here, a part of the report that the Mahdia Commission of Inquiry report. It says, we find the fact that no action was taken in relation to dormitory facilities in this country after 2017 report was a grave neglect of duty bordering on recklessness by the persons vested with power during that period for the care and welfare of our country's children residing in dormitories. We therefore find it was a blatant neglect of those facilities by those in whom authority was bestowed during the period 2017 to 2020. Further, we find that the issues highlighted in the report were to a great extent inherited by the current administration from the previous administration. It is to be pointed out that while those said issues are being addressed by the current administration, the magnitude of neglect which was inherited rendered full rectification a time-consuming exercise. Unfortunately, the tragedy struck before more could have been done. Oh my Lord! They're saying here that Caesar did a report and he identified some issues, including the very fire safety issues that came to the fore. The place is grilled, no firefighting equipment, lack of training for the house mother, and all of that. And this thing is saying they find it was a blatant neglect of those facilities by those whom authorities was bestowed during the period 2017-2020. So what happened with 2021? What happened in 2022? What happened up to 2023 when this fire? All right, you're saying Caesar had recommendations, and the previous administration did not act on those recommendations between 2017 and 2020. But you assumed office in 2020. If these things were so grave and critical, why did you not then seek to action this report recommendation? And then they say, this thing is an amazing indictment on honesty and integrity. This report. It says it is to be pointed out that while those said issues were being addressed by the current administration, the magnitude of neglect which was inherited rendered full rectification a time-consuming exercise. Now, how time-consuming can it be to install fire extinguishers? All right, you might not be able to do all the recommendations, but the thing talk about firefighting. How time-consuming would it have been to remove those grills from the windows? Huh? How time-consuming it would have been to, as I put fire extinguishers and other firefighting appliances in place. See, let me bring you into again here, man. Let me bring this amazing.
Ed Caesar's report. Understand it was commissioned in 2015, presented in 2017. Okay. But the present government inherited it. And even that, after they inherited, the minister rushed to with breakneck speed and commissioned the UNICEF report. That UNICEF report went to cabinet, and according to the minister, that UNICEF report was, the recommendations were approved by cabinet. And what the goodly minister do? She sent it to the relative authorities. Full stop. You mentioned that who you want to know who wrote the report, who signed it. I read the report, but I didn't reach to the very end. I didn't see the signature. Was it one person signed it? Was it all the commission person signed it to make sure that they had read it and they agreed with it? I remember our commissioner, I used to say that you are responsible for everything above your signature. And I always talk about an incident when I was a commandant in charge of the police field housing police college in Borbies. We had what you call a board of training, and which no longer exists, made up of several persons, several educators from the university and otherwise. And I had to submit a monthly report. And when the secretary brought the report to me, I checked it, and I discovered that she made two mistakes in the penultimate line. So I asked her to correct it. She brought it back to me. In those days, you couldn't white out anything when you send it to the commissioner. It had to be pure. And I checked and I saw that she had corrected those two mistakes that were made, and I subsequently circulated my report. I went early to the meeting, I circulated, and then my good friend Larry George called me and said, "Can we like you can't spell? Can we like you know English?" He was at the meeting, and he well he used some flowery language, and then I discover that the secretary, after she only correct, she type over the report and made 6 mistakes at the top. I only checked the bottom there. So the thing is that you have to check everything. You're responsible for everything about your signature. So I had to withdraw my report and apologize to the commissioner for not submitting a written report. You know, I took some blows out of my chest, and I took my blows. The thing is that the reports were there, and as you mentioned, what is it? What is it going to take long to take down to pull down some barriers that were securing the windows? How long it take to put in fire equipment there? How long it take to put exit points and those things there? And if you inherit it, don't blame at you. You gotta blame yourself because you inherited it, and you gotta take the necessary action to take corrective action. You can't say I give constable in nowadays. You can't say I give Sergeant Jones or inspectors to do the matter. You gotta ensure when you're delegating. I said, oh, when you're delegating you're delegating authority, and the overall responsibility remains with you. You have got to put in a mechanism in place so that you'll have positive feedback to ensure that to make sure that what the instructions that you given were carried out and carried out to your satisfaction. That is leadership. That is supervision. But then they didn't have them kind of thing in the Mahdia situation.
No leadership, no supervision. And you mentioned the Ministry of Education UNICEF report. And let me read a part of it because I have it here. They say more BS, more buttering up, more brown nosing. That is what this commission of inquiry was all about. It says here, we specifically commended the Minister of Education, Honorable Priya Manik Chan, for our initiative in commissioning the Ministry of Education UNICEF consultancy survey. We find that the minister elevated to a place of priority the dormitory facilities which were inherited in a woeful state of neglect across Guyana. It goes on to say, we specifically find that following the submissions of the Ministry of Education UNICEF report to Cabinet, systems were immediately put in place for implementation of the recommendations captured therein. We find that the process to comply with the recommendations emanating from the report recommended in 2022 to ensure that the dorms were rehabilitated to a standard to preserve the care, safety, and welfare of students residing in dorms across Guyana. We accept the process is continuing. We accept that the process is continuing on, and that there's a strong commitment by the government of Guyana to comply with the recommendations of the Ministry of Education UNICEF reports as far as is practicable. Now, again, that is tremendous BS there. Now, this report was commissioned and it went to a cabinet. Remember, they're saying that there's this Ed Caesar report which made recommendations back in 2017, and they're claiming that the opposition did not do anything. They too, when they assumed office in 2020, did not do anything. They commissioned a report in 2022. The minister commissioned a report in 2022. And they're saying that cabinet, right, a strong commitment by the government to comply with the recommendations. Again, I say, there were recommendations that you were saying that were urgent, like the fire safety, like the removal of the grill. Those things were urgent. And yet still, this government did not act upon them. The minister did not act upon them. And they're coming to tell you a lot of crap. That's the only thing you can describe it as. You got to use, this is not parliament. I'm not going to use parliamentary language and all of that. I'll call it what it is. It is bullshit. That's what it is. It is bullshit. So if, again, I say, at Caesar Report 2017, let me accept, as you're arguing, that the government at the time did not do anything between 2017 and 2020. You assumed office in August of 2020. You are old for the rest of 2020, almost half a year 2020. all of 2021, all of 2022, up to when this fire occurred. You two did not do anything. And nobody wants to accept blame. Nobody wants to accept blame. And this report, this commission of inquiry by Joe Singh, came to absolve the government from blame. So all they do is buttering up. I wonder how much money they get paid. I wonder how much money they get paid. It's just buttering up, it's brown nosing, kissing ass. That is what it is. And then when you read 46, let me read a part of page 46. So, and before I bring in Mr. Conway again, a part of page 46 referring to financial response. It says here, it was reported to us that following their accommodation in Georgetown after the tragedy, all families of those affected were provided with a sum of money to assist in their immediate needs outside of that which was already been provided. Based on the evidence of reports tendered before us, it is evident that a number of government ministries and agencies provided direct financial support to the individual families during the period immediately after and thereafter. We are told that the government assigned a minister to each grieving family, whose responsibility was to personally ensure that the assigned families were coping and their needs were being met. See, bullshit here, buddy, BS. First of all, as a former police, once you're able to summon money, you antenna this go up. So it was reported that that following the accommodation in Georgetown after the tragedy, all families of those affected were provided with a sum of money. That rings a bell for us investigators, us trained police run. You got a sum of money. Money get a finite amount. It's either $1 million, $1 2 cents, $1 million provided. Once you hear a sum of money, they're putting it in you without little grease on the thing. You're getting it raw. You're getting it raw. Once you're able to sum of money, that is where, as we say in Guyanese, that is where the cock don't pass. I hope I'm not offending the sensitivities of some of our listeners this morning. But I got to talk it. I got to say it as it is, bro. Once you hear people telling you that a sum of money was allocated, the police and me saying, can't come in here. Because I don't like sum of money. Money is direct numbers we just talk about. And hear what they say, the last part of this thing, before I bring in CC. They say, like, is everything this commission of inquiry were told and they believe. They said the commission of inquiry, we were told that the government assigned a minister to each grieving family, whose responsibility was to personally ensure that the assigned families were coping and their needs were being met. You had about at least 19 families affected by this tragedy. So you're telling they had 19 government ministers that were assigned to each family. They say each, let me read what they say. English language and interpretation. We are told that the government assigned a minister to each grieving family. So therefore, if you had 19 grieving family, they're saying the government might provided a minister to each grieving family, whose responsibility was to personally ensure that the assigned families were coping and that their needs were being met. Let me bring in CCA, buddy, and things. CC, help again. You're the man with a lot of experience. Help me. But this sum of money, the first thing, explain to me what is a sum of money. And explain to me how you could have assigned a minister to each grieving family. Go ahead.
Well, when you talk about sum of money, I really can't explain that. And I remember on the East Coast during the Contraband Days, very senior officer at Vigilance Police Station lodged a bag containing, and he put the amount of potatoes, because I used to for the potatoes, And when he went back to uplift, he found the bag and he found the exact amount of potatoes. But he discovered that he had lost some big potatoes. So the bag containing small potatoes. The police take out the big ones, go to the market and collect some small ones and put them in the bag. So he had a bag containing X among the potatoes, but they was say small potatoes, all the big ones gone. And you can't sell some more money in this modern time. You gotta put how much money they got, and then the other